Hi, Julia.
Hello, how's it going?
Yeah, well, how are you?
Good, good.
So far, very good response from the parents and viewers. So I'm really happy to see that it's
Yes,
hitting
me too. I love when people tell us what they want and everything. It's been really
and
great.
that's really great to hear.
Our
So
third part of the series, and we're going to talk about home study.
Yes,
Kind of a very important step because you can't
yes,
register with CARA without a home study.
correct.
And today, what are we going to talk about? What are we going to cover in
So
this conversation?
we'll just cover basically what the home study is and why it's important
Hmm.
and what all you have to do for it. And it'll vary slightly from agency to agency, but the
Okay.
meat of it is all the same.
Okay. Okay. Good. All right, then let's get started.
Okay. So yeah, like you said, the home study is necessary. It's going to be basically after you sign with an agency and everything, your next step after signing the contracts is doing your home study. And you need it for two reasons. You have to register with CARA with a completed home study and
Hmm.
also to start US immigration process with the home study. So you can't
Okay.
move forward at all in your process until your home study is done. The home study is
Okay.
really important. So the home study is basically the study of you and your family in your home. It's
Yeah.
all about you and your background checks and everything like that. So you will have to use a home study agency if your agency
Okay.
is not in your state.
Yeah.
It has to be somebody in your state, social worker license for your state, and
Okay.
they will come to your house 3 times.
Okay.
And it has to be spaced out, a minimum of 3 days each.
Okay.
But before you even get to the home study, you will have to do a lot of running around and paperwork to
Yes.
get there. And
I
a lot
saw
of
the
people,
list.
yes,
Oh yeah,
a lot of
that
people are
was
afraid of the home study visits. I'm like,
right.
that's not the hard part. The hard part is getting there. The hard
Exactly,
part is doing all the
exactly.
paperwork and
Yeah.
everything. So, um, the actual home study is not that bad. I mean, the social
Hmm.
workers are pretty cool usually and everything. So,
Okay.
let's talk about what you have to give the agency before they'll
Okay.
actually start the home study. So the agency will
Okay.
give you a list, and
Hmm.
it's pretty self-explanatory, but let's go through it a little bit. A lot of
Oh,
it will also
yeah.
be stuff that goes into your dossier too.
Okay.
So there's that. But
Okay.
you may need to do it again later because the dates get old once you get closer to court and everything.
Right. Right.
So
Just that people understand what is dossier. It's
yes,
like a compiled all the documents required for you to start the process or complete the process, not even start.
yeah.
Sorry.
So part of the dossier will be done and turned into CARA with your home study.
Okay.
And the
Okay.
rest of it will be done after you've matched with the child, and that will be sent to the orphanage and to CARA and eventually to the judge.
Okay.
So
So
that's
it's
your
mhm.
entire life. If you thought, oh, that's sick.
Right.
Yeah. And it's
Yeah.
all to like get you to be able to go home with this kiddo.
Right.
So,
I read somewhere home study doesn't like environment. Like they wait, they ask
yeah.
you for so many papers and then so many
Yes.
copies of each document. And I mean, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And then the home study, at least nothing has to be notarized. But when you get to the dossier stage, everything will be notarized and notarized again with through apostille.
Oh, yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, so it's the
Okay.
beginning of your frustrating paperwork.
Yeah, yeah.
But it ends in a great goal. So there's that.
There's always that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice ending.
So
So,
the fee will be separate than what you've paid with your placing agency because you're
okay.
going to the homestay agency. Now the
Right.
fee is anywhere from $2,000 to $4,000 about,
Okay. Hmm.
and that includes them taking all your paperwork
Okay.
and preparing the report and the social worker visits.
Okay.
You may have to pay extra if the social worker has to travel very far to get to you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So they'll
yeah.
keep a mileage report.
Correct. Yeah, yeah. I
And
saw that. Yeah.
yeah, and that doesn't include all the fees that you incur by getting all this paperwork done. So just keep in mind that that's on top of that. Sometimes the placement agency and the homestay agency will have a little bit of different in what they
Hmm.
require. So
Okay.
sometimes, so your place agency will give a list to you and your home study agency,
Uh-huh.
and you kind of need to look at both lists to see, okay,
Okay.
they're asking for something additional, let
Right.
me make sure I include that, because if you don't, then
Oh,
you have to go
yeah.
back and there'll be a
Okay.
delay.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's best to check both lists and make
Right.
sure you get every little thing.
So,
So
yeah, then
which
you
is
just
prep for the
combine the
dossier.
two, basically combine both
Yes.
lists and come up with your own and then just follow that.
Yeah. And if you have a really good homestay agency,
Yeah.
a lot of the stuff they'll just say, as you're getting it, just email it to us and we'll check it off our list.
Okay. That's
Right.
really
In the
good.
end,
That's
you
good.
can hand them a packet of like original
Yeah.
stuff. But
Yeah.
for the home study, originals don't really matter as much. So they'll just say, as you
Okay.
get this, just email it to us.
Send
And
it.
then when they
Okay.
get closer to having all the documents, then they'll be like,
Yeah.
okay, let's schedule the home study visits.
Which is also good. Keeps you on track too. Like, okay, you
Yes.
know where you are in terms of completion. Are you getting
Yeah.
close? Because
Yeah.
what I understood was until you submit all the paperwork, you can't make that appointment for the home visit. So it'll be good for
Yeah.
you to be prepared with that and
Yeah.
make sure that you inform social worker at least 2 weeks in advance that, okay, we are ready.
I would. Isn't that
Yeah, because
necessary? But
right.
I would. You need to
That's
really stand
what
tall because they have a lot of
exactly,
clients
exactly,
and
exactly.
everything. Yeah, I know
Yeah.
with mine, I loved our social worker and she was
Yeah.
amazing, but I had to push her a lot. Be like, no, we're
Right.
ready. No,
I
we're
can
really ready.
imagine. Exactly. Yeah, yeah. They also
Yeah.
have too many clients, too many appointments to keep. So it will
Yeah.
make sense if you have a good track of where you are,
Yeah.
then you can start also in creating an appointment with her once you're closer
Right.
to finishing the paperwork. Okay. And
Yeah.
that everyone knows we are gonna put a file basically, which you can download in the link below. And this will have the list of what we think is the basic paperwork you require. So
Yeah.
great.
Yeah. It may differ a little bit, but yeah.
Sure.
So the big chunk is your autobiography. That's what it's called, and it'll vary a little bit from social worker to agency or whatever. But basically, they're going to ask you pages and pages of stuff for you to fill out, and it's really helping them to write the report and make sure they don't miss anything. And it also kind of gives you. They're probably going to ask you the similar questions in the home study as well.
Yeah.
But it will have to be a separate one that you fill out for you and your husband will fill out for you. If there's any other adults living in the house, they'll have to do one as well.
Okay.
And yeah, it's just long. It's very intimate sometimes, in depth and intimate. They will ask you things, you're not, you do have a good relationship with your partner, right? You do have a good sex life, right? You're not doing this to fix your marriage, right?
No.
Yeah, that would not be the way to go.
Right.
So,
I know.
and then they'll ask you just a ton of not random, but things about how you discipline kids that you already have. Do your kids understand what's going on? That kind of thing. And so it's really lengthy and it's really self-reflective.
Yes.
So, but yeah, just really think about the questions before you write them down because, they're important and they're going to ask you them again in the home study.
In the interview, during the visit, so to say, right? So when you guys wrote it, you and your husband, you had to write both two individual autobiographies or just one as a couple, two?
No, separate.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then when you did that, did you discuss it with each other or how do they want you to do it?
Well, they probably assume that you're going to talk about it, and I kind of read over his because, I was like, I wrote mine and then I read over his, like, you sure you want to say that?
Okay.
But for the most part, it's pretty fine.
Because,
if you've done like, any research on adoption and all that before you do it, you may temper your answers a certain way, with certain knowledge. You don't spank our kids, stuff like that,
I think that's kind of basic norm, and anyways you will have what you also told me once, you will have this training, right? The adoption agency is going to do training with you, and also you have a mandatory training you have to do before you, I think, get into the paperwork thing, so it will be a little bit more helpful
that'll give you an idea
to use that information and knowledge to write your autobiography, I feel. But I understand you need to think deeper and dig deeper to understand what is your motivation of adoption and is it different from your partner. So it's not so bad overall because I guess it gives you a little bit more understanding that you both are on the same page, you have the same reasons. It's good for the child and I think it's good for the family overall. So I think it's really good. And they'll even ask questions like what happens if you or your partner can't get there in an emergency, or who else is going to be in your child's life, that kind of thing. So it helps you think more if you haven't thought of certain things in depth, then it's really good. So but
It's an important, lengthy document.
Yes. Yeah. And I mean, no one thinks about their life. I guess
Right.
if you will ask me today to write down 3 pages about my life, I don't know exactly what I'm going to write.
Right.
It can go all over the place. So yes,
Yes.
it can be very intimidating
Yes.
to kind of review your own life in such a way. But
Right.
perhaps a very important step. So
Yeah. Yeah, it's good. The other thing that you'll also be asked to do is any child that's 5 or over in your house will have to do a letter of consent saying that they understand what adoption is and that they want this to happen, right? So, you know, if you haven't included your children at this point, you have to. I would hope, we feel it's better to include everybody in the immediate family from the beginning. So, and if your child's really young, like 5, obviously they're not going to write a letter. They can just draw a picture of them and they're, you know, this is going to be my sister, family. You know, like when our kids were little, like my 4-year-old was like, I want my sister. And he drew a picture of him and his sister, you know? So then we as parents signed it, said, yeah, he wrote that. So there's a lot of just regular documents that, they just have to be copies for the home study. For the dossier later, they will need to be originals and everything. But you'll need copies of birth certificates, marriage certificates, if you were divorced or not, your level of education, high school, college.
Your level of education matters?
No, it doesn't matter, but it's just kind of like a checking the boxes, you know, it's, you know, whether you're a PhD or a high school diploma, it doesn't really matter. They just, it's just a record they keep, you know. Social Security's, whether if you're not if your spouse is not a citizen, you need to have a copy of their birth certificate and their status in the US, that kind of thing. And with some of that information, the home state agency will be doing a background check for you. You will do a check with the local police department where you live, saying that we don't have a criminal record, and that you'll include, and that's just like a 5-minute thing. But the agency will go ahead and do a background check with the FBI. So they will do that, and you'll have to get fingerprinted for that. So you will get sent from the government a number and where you can go to get fingerprinted. And that goes, it's electronic, and they send it and everything. So that's really important.
So biometrics basically, is it? Is it your biometrics?
$30.
I have done it in the past for different reasons, but it's not so complicated. It's just time taking.
It's a very 5-minute appointment, but getting the appointment and getting there and all
exactly.
It's just another thing.
Just to get it is another thing.
The more kind of annoying thing is the medical records. I mean, if you have any pets, you have to get a letter from your vet saying that they're all up to date on their shots. And it helps if they can say something like they've never attacked a child or anything like that. If you can get them to say that, it's always helpful. You don't have to, but it's helpful. Then there is medical clearance that have to be done for everyone in the household, from kid to adults. And that has to be new. You have to go in for this purpose, and there's a format letter that the agency will give you. And you have to be tested for communicable diseases and get a physical done. Make sure you don't have HIV, AIDS, tuberculosis. And if you do have anything like cancer or anything like that, you would need the doctor to notarize a letter saying that, you know, this is their health status. They can still parent a child, something like that. A lot of people have had stuff. And as long as you can get a doctor to say this isn't going to affect your parenting, or you're in remission or something like that, that's fine. You just have to make sure that you do that.
Can you choose the doctor you go to for this?
Okay.
You can go to your own physician. It's not like specific. Okay, good.
And then they'll have to sign it and everything. For the dossier, you'll have to get it notarized. You'll have to bring a notary to them. So that's another expense. But
so it's right after your medical is done, you have another appointment of a notary coming down to the clinic. Really?
Yes. Unless the doctor's office has a notary on staff. Not all of them do. But you'll have to have hire a mobile notary for that. So most of the times when you notarize something, you can just go to like your bank or something and get it all done. But not for a doctor's office.
I know Bank of America does it for their customers.
Chase does it as well.
So
Yes.
that's good. Just inquire
It's really
your bank
helpful.
and ask if they do it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I know post office does it.
UPS or
UPS
FedEx does
and
it.
FedEx does it too.
Yeah.
So because we got
But for a
some
fee.
documents, yeah, for a fee. It's expensive though. I mean, if your
Yeah,
bank can do it,
per
definitely.
document gets expensive.
Right. Because you
Yeah.
have so many, and maybe multiple times
Yeah.
you need to do it. So
Yes.
find out where you can get it in a more economical
Right.
way, for sure.
Right. So,
Okay.
and then the other big one is the psychological evaluation.
Yeah.
Psychological evaluation of all the adults in the household.
Okay. Yeah.
And it's not really lengthy. It's about a 45-minute session, and they do basically a personality test and a little session, and they will write up something that says about you as a parent and how they think you'll do, and just basically say, yeah, they're stable to be a parent. So that is just another expense. And it has to be done in person.
Varies, right? It varies from
really varies.
To doctor. So
yes.
like how much? On an average, how much should it be?
Yeah, I've seen it go from about $350 to $1,500 per couple.
Wow.
So
that's a big
you really got to
range.
shop around. Yes. And CARA was allowing people to do it online. So there was a lot of people that were just getting it done for $350, and they have stopped allowing that. So now you have to find something in person, and that's usually when the price goes up.
Right.
They only have to be seen once, and you will be seen separately. You can't be seen together. But
it has to be done for the couple. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's 2 appointments basically for you and for your spouse?
Yeah, one for your husband and one for you. Yeah.
Okay. Good. Because I might have 1 or 2 recommendations, and I will also ask you if you have any. And we can put that link also in the description below.
So, and then after psychological testing is done, it's just a little bit more paperwork. You have to do a lot of things that prove your income. Like you have to send in your income tax returns. You have to get a letter from your bank saying that you're in good standing. That kind of thing, a proof of employment that, you really are employed and in good standing, that kind of thing.
So your employer would know that you're adopting as well.
Yes.
Yes. So it's good to talk to them beforehand because that could be a little sensitive for some people. They don't want to, but you will have to because you need that.
Yeah, you'll have to. And it's a good thing to tell your employer just because you are eligible for paternity leave and maternity leave as well. And also some employers actually give you some money for adopting after after the child comes home. So that's really, really great.
Yes.
So it's good to talk to them about it and let them know because you don't really know when you're going, right? So you need that. You need to tell them ahead of time so they understand your situation.
That's absolutely right. Yeah.
It's a big deal. You're like, okay, I'm going to go to India for 3 months. What?
Correct. No, you're right. It does make sense to talk to your employer and have that confidence. Good.
So, and then the other thing for medical and everything is you need your insurance company to either send a letter or send you the part of your policy that says when you adopt the child that they will be covered.
Right.
Now they can't give you the runaround because legally they have to cover your child, and they're supposed to cover your child when you pass court. And some will say, oh, when the child's home or blah blah. You're like, okay, now legally, it's when the child is yours. The child's mine.
Right.
Yes. So sometimes they give you the runaround, and you're like, no, just give me the letter because that's what's legal.
Okay. Will you need this letter in India? Like with the final.
It is part of the dossier.
Okay.
So and then just a copy of your insurance cards.
Right.
And then we talked about the training. You're going to have it. A minimum of 10 hours training. It's pretty standard. It's usually all online. Some agencies do more on top of that. Which on one hand, you'd be like, okay, great, I have to do more things, but it usually is good training. It's good to have. So it's good to do. And then you'll need references from some people that aren't related to you. That have known you for at least 2 years. So, and this is also at least 2 years.
That's
sometimes they don't for the home study, it's not going to have to be notarized, but for the dossier it will. So one tip that's good is find people that are in your state because you're going to have to notarize it and you're going to have to apostille it. So they have to be there to notarize it. And then you have to when you get something apostilled, it has to be done in the state that it was created.
Right.
So if you got a letter of reference from another state, you're going to have to ask them to go to the Secretary of State. And that's just a pain to ask somebody. It's also a pain to wait for somebody to do it.
Yeah, that's a lot of work for anyone.
Yeah, it is. So it's good to have them, near you. So
or someone who lives close to, as you said, someone who lives close to either you or to
the Secretary of State. Yeah.
So maybe. Hi.
So anyway, so yeah, that's basically it. There may be a few more other things, like some agencies will want a copy of your home and auto insurance, that kind of thing.
Okay.
And also some agencies want letters of reference, basically from a teacher for each of the children that are in school.
Okay.
Kind of, because then you also are telling your teachers now that you're adopting. So it's in a way, it can be unfair if you weren't ready to disclose that. But in the end, everyone's going to know anyway. So there's that. But so some ask you to do that, and it's just that one won't have to be notarized because it's not for the dossier. But they should sign it, and they could just email it to you.
Okay. In my understanding, until it's for the dossier, home study doesn't require, as you said, any document to be notarized. So you can just collect all the documents, keep it. But we also discussed, I think, once that the birth certificate, for example, get multiple copies. So for whatever you can, if you can get multiple copies, because you might have to, something gets lost in the transition, and then you might need another original, have it.
And also because all your dossier with originals goes to India and you don't get it back.
Correct. Oh yeah, you won't get it back, right?
No. There's people that they say like 2 years after the adoption is final, you can file a petition to get it, and I've had people do that, but I don't know if they were successful. Right. I mean, just consider that stuff gone.
It's gone. Exactly. So just keep something, because even during the process, it's possible India lost something, the original, and then they're just gonna say.
Many times.
There it is. So definitely get multiple copies if it doesn't cost you much. Just get it. And keep it.
And also scan everything in before you send it off to your agency. You should have a copy of everything, so you can say, "Oh, here it is. I'll attach a true copy statement and notarize that and send it to you." PDF instead of getting original.
Yeah, I think PDF, a good resolution PDF, save it like that. Yeah. A good point. Very good advice.
Yep.
Okay.
And then after that, you'll get your home study scheduled.
So now is like part 2. So part 1, collect all the paperwork, submit it to your agency, and make an appointment with the social worker. And now is the main visit.
Yes. And like I said, it's not really that scary. They just want to come in and see that, meet you and make sure that you have a relatively comfortable, clean house. It doesn't have, they're not going to come in with a white glove and make sure everything's perfect. Definitely vacuum and all that stuff before they come.
At least,
Right. They're not going to be super nitpicky. Some of them will look to see if you have, smoke detectors and like the fire, I always say fire extinguisher.
Right?
Yes, fire extinguisher. Some won't. It's on their list to check. So, you can get them from Amazon or Walmart pretty easy. But they're going to come 3 times, and it has to be at least 3 days apart. And then they'll write your report and, push a little bit for that report, because otherwise it may take a few months for them to finish it. And it's like,
months. Okay.
Okay. So if you're politely pushing a little bit, you can get it quicker.
I think you learn a lot of politely pushing during the whole process as well.
Yes. That's the name of the game. Politely push. It's just, it feels like a lot of times you're hurrying up and getting everything done to wait for someone else to do their part. And, you're not their only client. I get it. But it can be frustrating. So you can't register with India and start until you have that home study.
Exactly.
So really, you're not started until that's done.
Right. So agree. Okay. Sounds good. And anything to keep in mind to prepare for that visit? As you said, cleaning, say, a little bit, but anything else?
Talk to your kids, because they're going to talk to your kids. Don't have them memorize anything or anything like that.
Yeah, but at least have a conversation of what's
have a
going
conversation,
on.
What's happening, what they're going to do, and just invite them into your home like any other guest, and that's it. There are going to be times when they're going to separate you and talk to you and your spouse separately, and then they'll talk to your kids separately. And it's not really bad what they do with your kids. I mean, they let you listen in, like in the next room. But it's more just like, do you understand what's happening? Okay. And they're like, oh, it'll be so great. You know, it'll be a little tough. It was actually funny. I remember my child, my oldest, he was 6 at the time, I think. And you know, he was saying, you know, she asked him what he thought. And he's, oh, she'll be really happy to be here. And she goes, well, it may be tough sometimes. She may not be happy. And he goes, I've been to India. She'll be happy to be here.
Holy shit. Okay.
Like,
oh yeah,
that's not what she
but
said.
So true in a way, you know. But yeah, it's a
little kids
perception.
You know, but she goes, you know, and they'll counsel them a little bit to let them know, you know, there's times when she's not going to be happy. There's times when she's going to fight with you, that kind of thing, just to make them aware. And also it's good. You're going to have the same social worker every time. And you're probably going to have the same one for your post-placement visits. So they're also there to support you. If you have any questions, they know what they're talking about. They've seen a lot of situations. So use them for support as well. Ask them questions
Very
too.
good advice. Yeah.
You know,
don't be scared of them. Like,
don't be scared.
Rather use them.
They've seen a lot.
Use their knowledge.
And and a lot of them have done a lot of stuff with CPS and everything. So you're not the scary one that they've seen, right? I mean, there's been a lot of things that they've seen, a lot of things. They've seen kids that have been removed for you know, painful reasons. So they're just like, okay, you're just a family that's going to adopt internationally, you know, which is important, but it's not the scary stuff, right?
Understood.
So, you know, so they're there to help you and, you know, give you advice when you need it and stuff like that. So
awesome. Yeah, it's not as scary, I think, as what I've heard about the domestic adoption home study. Perhaps international home study is a little bit different. The home visit, let's put it that way. Because with domestic, because it's so kind of close to bringing the child home, that they are more maybe not skeptical, but they're evaluating everything a little bit more strictly.
Especially like just through foster care and stuff, those things mandated by the state and everything. Those kids are from harder backgrounds or harder situations a lot of times, and like you said, all the medicine will have to be up and locked and all those kind of things. Where with an international home study, it's not as strict.
And India, I mean, every country also has their own, I understood they have their own rules, which they will communicate to the social worker when they're coming for the home study. So it's possible that if you're adopting from another country, you might have a little bit different process. The social worker might follow a little bit different process than India. So,
Okay. The other thing, one last thing to note is that you will have 3 visits. Only one of them has to be in your home. Usually they're just all going to be at your home, but if you're in a tough situation like COVID-19 or something, or your agency's far away, you can be like, hey, or the social worker's far away, I'll meet you for the other 2 if that works for you, just to, you know, get these done in a timely manner, that kind of thing. So only one of them has to be in your home.
Understood.
With everybody present.
3 visits doesn't mean 3 actual physical visits to your home. 3 meetings, we should rather call them 3 meetings in one home. One of them is home visit. Great, Julia. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
As always, lovely chatting with you.
You too.
And until next time then.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.